Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you're about to enter a world of darkness, a world where life and death are meaningless and pain is God. Here's your look at the NECA Toys House of 1,000 Corpses Retro Cloth Captain Spaulding. Stop by Captain Spaulding's Museum of Monsters and Madmen. It's fun for the whole family from the cult Rob Zombie film House of 1,000 Corpses. Captain Spaulding stands 8 inches tall and is dressed in a fabric clown attire, includes alternate hands and bag accessory. He's fully posable and truly terrifying. Comes in a special 20th anniversary window box packaging. Well, at least nobody got blood all over his best clown suit. Before, of course, we get a closer look, I'm sure that's going to happen, though. Before, of course, we get a closer look at the 20th anniversary House of 1,000 Corpses Retro Cloth Captain Spaulding, let's grab the tape measure and see how tall the figure stands. Now, I did do a review of a Retro Cloth Captain Spaulding years ago. His whereabouts, though, unknown. I tried checking around to the various totes that I had, so if you guys did certainly want to see my review of that. It's a little older, mind you, but feel free to give that a gander. For the 20th anniversary release, though, of Captain Spaulding, you're looking at the figure standing about 7 3/4 of an inch in height, or the figure is almost 20 centimeters tall. Three accessories come included with the captain, and not one of them being his hat. The figure, first of all, comes included with tiny little baggie. You want to take a doggy bag home with you? You can see there's the captain there featured on the front with a very crude drawing. It is, I'm guessing, to be like I don't know what somebody has ordered. That's a pretty small, it might just store one lone drumstick inside. It's a pretty small looking bag, though. It's also equally hard for him to hold it, too. As of right now, he sort of has what I could best describe as gestured hands. What you're supposed to do, I'm guessing, is you're supposed to take the bag and wedge it between his fingers and his thumb. Again, it's not the easiest. I did pull it off, but he just barely holds it. What I might just do is maybe see if I can soften the plastic just a little bit. That might make things a little easier for him holding the bag. And of course, you can always go just the route of instead having the bag sitting in his hand, like he's offering up to guests before he sends them on their merry little ways. The figure also comes included with 2 interchangeable hands. Probably not hands suitable for display. You're going to get in trouble, please. He has 2 finger gesturing hands. Flipping the bird is what they would say. He has 2 of them at least. So if you wanted to, you could display him with just one, or hey, why not? You're in trouble anyways. You could display him with both. One, though, if you can look at it, does say love, and the other one does say hate. Changing out the hands. By the way, the hands already have that printed on the defaulted hands. Just a case of rolling up the clown sleeves, wiggling off the hand from the existing forearm. There we go. And then just replace it with, I'm going to do just one hand for right now. Let's keep things somewhat decent. And you can have the figure again displayed this way as well. Now the figure doesn't have a hat. This is one thing I do wish that the figure could have come included with. I know he sort of has the hat more in the opener, and then kind of like while he's still in this suit, he doesn't really wear the hat all the time. But, you know, it still would have been nice if they could have included the hat. I mean, the hardest thing would have been how to really attach that. It would literally have just been a balancing act of just trying to balance the hat on the top of his head. Speaking of heads, head sculpt-wise, this one really did turn out nicely, bearing a very strong likeness to, of course, the late Sig Haig, who played, of course, Captain Spaulding. I think it certainly does look a lot like him. The paint that I really like about this is the way it was painted on the front of his face. Now, if you look at the face, for example, they've brushed it in such a way so it looks like he just smeared the paint across the front of his face. But you can see, like, there's a very obvious point where it stopped, like it normally would be. And, like, if you're somebody that doesn't really want to paint your head completely, then there's really no reasonings why you would want to paint your head all the way to the back. Obviously, you're going to have a harder time of reaching that anyways. Captain Spaulding really only just wants to paint the front of his face. So I like how it covers only just the berries of his ears, but then there's sort of a roughness on the back where, again, this is the point where he just decided to stop. At the back of the head, again, it's really quite bare. There's not a whole lot happening here. But again, like, the head sculpt really is a nice looking Captain Spaulding. He's in a fairly jovial mood. That does seem to work on a trigger. One minute he's in a good mood, and then other minutes, well, we already know, like, he's not in the greatest of moods. I also like the way that they've painted the makeup on. In some areas, you can see it covers over his mustache. In areas, it's not. He's got the little kind of rosy or red areas around his cheeks. And darker colors, of course, with the blue on the top there, just above. I guess this is supposed to be his eyeshadow, because his eyebrows are supposed to be way up there. Good looking head sculpt, though. I'm really happy with how this one turned out. Now, when it comes to the rest of the figure's body, I will say, though, one thing that kind of bothered me about removing this guy out of the packaging. You may have saw at the beginning of this review that there was a strap running along the bottoms of his legs. That was easy to do. I just take my nail clippers and snip those. But he also had one right here, too. I didn't want to go into the front and snip this for the risk that I may have damaged the fabric, but I still ultimately damaged the fabric because even clipping it on the back, the zip tie, or the little plastic tie, was so tight across this that you see it's now left a permanent crease. I don't know if I will go in there with an iron and see if I can iron this out. I hope it hasn't done long-term damage, but the strap was way too tight and now has left a crease down below. And just by looking at it like this, it kind of looks like that's a nose and that's a mouth. Speaking of the nose and further up from that, he actually has 3 pom-poms. They're glued fairly in place. This one actually seems like it's a little loose and hanging on. The other 2 are pretty secure in place. Of course, he does have the little collar there with a tiny little skull in the middle, and nice striping of red and alternating red and white sleeves with little tiny blue stars in the middle. Further from that, down below, we got a little bit of additional pink that's added that's nowhere really anywhere else on the rest of the figure, and big giant clown shoes. Look at the size of these things. Now, using that I'm guessing they would have used the original Captain Spaulding retro cloth figure body, means unfortunately it also inherited something that newer retro cloth figures don't have, and that's the fact that he doesn't have ankle pivots. You can't rock the ankles at all. They only just move back and forth. So when you're looking at it, there's always going to be a case where one foot kind of looks like it's always up on an angle. You can't have them completely flat unless you just kind of heat this up a little bit in hot water and try to bend the ankles down that way. Of course, the figure does have on the bottoms of his feet an L and an R. That's fine and good, but no peg holes, so you can't use a display stand if you wanted to. Figure's articulation, going back to his head, is going to be on a ball joint. Because he has a very large collar all around his head, it's going to make things a little harder when it comes to moving his head, or at least rotating all the way around. You can have the head looking up only that far, looking down that low. And of course, you can also rock the captain's head back and forth as well. His arms do come out. Now, the weird thing about it, though, is it kind of reminds me of Penguin's bodysuit from Batman Returns. Because he has so much padding up here, when you bring his arms out, it actually kind of looks like he's a little off-proportioned. Because, of course, his body would normally be here, and there's all this extra padding all around him. You can take the arms and move them forward. You can move them back. He has a swivel at the bicep, a single hinge only in the elbow, and the hands do rotate all the way around. He has just a straight swivel in his waist. And again, if I just to bring this up, you can see there's a whole lot of padding underneath the clown suit just to beef up the build a bit for Captain Spaulding here. Legs do split out. There is a swivel at the top of the thigh. You can, of course, bring the legs forward and back. Single hinge only in the knee. And as we've already looked at, he only has a single hinge in the ankle. So that's as much as you're going to be able to get when it comes to ankle moving it back and forth. Nice looking figure, though. If I could have found, actually, it would have been ideal if I could have found the original Captain Spaulding. I would have loved to bring him in for comparisons. Obviously, as it normally goes when it comes to these sort of re-releases that NECA does end up doing, the paint is always considerably better. So, like, looking at this one, I already know without looking at the original one that the paint is considerably better on Captain Spaulding's face. I think the likeness is about the same. The outfit is about the same. It's still a lot of same carryover from what we got before with the original Captain Spaulding. I seem to remember like the original one also had a hat, now that memory serves me correctly. Now this one also does benefit from having the swappable hands, which I think is also one that the original one had as well. So there's a lot of samesies that have happened here with the original with this Captain Spaulding versus the original one. But I do like the colors look really quite good, and the vibrancy, of course, of the fabrics are always well appreciated. It's a nice looking Captain Spaulding. If you didn't get the chance to get the original one, and you wanted, or like myself, you have the original one and either have lost it or just feel it's time for an upgrade. It's a nice release, once again, from NECA Toys. I ended up looking online, and sure enough, that original retro cloth Captain Spaulding back in the day when NECA Toys was using those more illustrated inserts that went along with the clamshell cases, those were really nice. But the original Captain Spaulding actually still included the takeout bag and the same interchangeable hands. So really, looking at this figure and then looking at the original one, there's not really much different at all other than just basically a new coat of paint, literally, and new packaging, which is, again, okay. So if you had the original Captain Spaulding, never really had a plan to get those open up, because sometimes you would damage, of course, the clamshell if you would try to remove the figure out of it. At least the benefit of these ones, it's a much more consumer-friendly, collector-friendly packaging. It's a lot easier just to open up the flap, slide the figure out, put them on display, and then at any given point, if you want to decide to put them back, simply just put them back in the box and you're good to go. The packaging looks actually really quite good. The 20th anniversary House of 1,000 Corpses packaging, I think NECA's went all out on that. Even if it is really essentially a re-release of Captain Spaulding, they re-released it at least with a little bit of pizzazz. Nothing wrong with that at all. What do you guys think of Captain Spaulding? Let me know down below in the comment section. I guess a better question also to be asking you guys. If you have the original retro cloth Captain Spaulding, is there enough bells, whistles, and pom-poms included with this guy to worth picking him up again? Because really, ultimately, it's the same accessories. I'm guessing it's pretty much the same figure and the same costuming, just a better looking packaging. But what do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comment section. Also as well, hey, if you guys enjoyed this video, didn't mean to startle you. If you guys enjoyed this video, I want to hit with a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing, and you certainly would like to stick around for more, we've got some more NECA reviews coming your way. NECA reviews coming your way. So if that's the kind of thing you like to come back to this channel for, just know there's more. Yeah, heading your way. Of course, as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.